Hello everyone, my name is Jake. I'm the head of digital banking as well as investment research here at KXCO. We are a Thailand-based firm with offices in New York and London. And I'm here to talk to you a little bit today about our ecosystem as well as what we're designing on our chain for financial markets. So KXCO is an ecosystem that's built by bankers and traders. We have over 50 years of Wall Street experience on the team from a number of individuals who served at firms like Bear Stearns, Goldman Sachs, as well as a number of other firms on Wall Street. We have an international development team that spans across most continents, as well as a number of different services that we offer between sales and tech. So some of these services, exchange services that we offer are digitized IPO services, where we actually digitize security tokens and equity. So ERC 1044, we actually handle a lot of these securitized projects from firms based out of Malawi, as well as also a lot of the Middle Eastern region countries. We have tech development completely in-house. We have a blockchain team. We have a full-on web development team. We have a white label digital solution product that we're actually working on an MOU with the Rural Finance Ministry of India to provide transparent banking services for rural financial institutions. A lot of these institutions are actually focused in Rajasthan, Jaipur, so a lot of these actual banking areas where we're actually seeing a lot of struggle. We also offer consultancy, launch, treasury, and market making OTC. We actually market make for some of the largest tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 firms in the Web3 space. This is our ecosystem here. We actually have a 3-layer based application. So we have our infrastructure layer, which you can imagine is like an AWS service. We have our layer 1 blockchain solution, which is essentially our smart contract layer. We have our layer 2 execution layer, which is essentially what you see on Polygon, Cosmos, as well as the Binance chain. And then we actually have our applications layer where we allow projects to build out things like wallets, as well as video games. I want to talk a little bit about our USPs and functionality. These include our security and control. One thing that's really unique to our ecosystem is our proof of authority. Essentially what this means is the validation is done on chain through a pre-approved staker and validator. You'll notice that this is different than the proof of work system or the proof of stake system, where we actually have a proof of authority based protocol. Something that's really unique to our ecosystem as well is our high output speed. So our transactions per second on main networks are hitting about 700,000 TPS. Our actual, depending on the network and location, problem with the clicker here. Depending on your outlook and location, we actually are hitting 120,000 to 170,000. So in comparison, you could look at projects like Solana, which are hitting around 55,000 and experiencing a lot of chain outages. So a lot of our customers like Bangkok Bank and UOB can't have our chain shut down, right? So from an infrastructural level, we are really putting out that high output speed. We're also built for regulation adaptation, full traceability on our chain. We are a permission chain, so that means we are a permission chain, so that means everything that we do is through pre-selected parties. Everyone who remains a validator is through subsidiary or through actual application transmission. So the validator, for example, if a government wanted to use our chain, the registration office or the DMV could essentially be the validator, or an insurance company. So we actually know who the identity of these validators are, who's approving these transactions on the chain, and their actual stake and their identity is how they actually work. So a little bit more about the proof of authority. We get asked this a lot of how does sort of proof of authority differ from that of POS? And so essentially what POA does is we actually have these authorized validators. No unknown third parties can actually come onto the chain. None of these actual parties can come onto the chain and be unknown services. So we actually have full control, full traceability of everything that exists on our chain. A lot of the financial institutions and structures we work with, right, we can't actually have any of these changes. And so if I work at an institution and someone were to send $200 million to the wrong account, we can't let that transaction go, right? We need to be able to pull that transaction back. We need to be able to scale that transaction. And so what we've done is we've actually built a multi-chain level that allows you to can take control of your own side, right? So a bespoke and Hive model, we actually allow these chains to build out their own individualistic chains where they have full control, right? If I'm an institution, I don't want my users' data and I don't want my users' transactions from banking and institutional finance to be available on chain. It just doesn't make sense from a transparency and data and regulation security perspective. And so what we've done is we've actually given that control back to the institutions and allowed them to design what we feel is the best for their business. So in terms of revenue, we've actually done $21 million of revenue last year. We're looking to do $1.13 billion this year. A lot of our revenue comes from our trade desk as well as our OTC firm. We are actually also focusing on NFT bonds as well as carbon credit emissions. We're actually licensed here in Thailand. We have a number of licenses as well that we're going to be working with a number of firms out of Africa. In terms of valuation, we've actually set a valuation range of $1 billion.
Our All right. So questions from the judges.
So I got no question, but I think I just want to give my comment. I think first and foremost is your whole entire deck, it is so mouthful. There's so much that's going on. This is a pitch. And basically, I would appreciate this if I think the points is to be more concise and precise. To me, this looks more like a research work. I know it's very in-depth, but I think this is more like a reading deck rather than really a pitching deck. So that would be great if you're really able to take what's really the strong points, and which I believe you have because you have the traction. I think then probably the whole entire presentation will be much better.
So thank you. You guys are having some trouble with this. It's going on its own. I'm actually not clicking buttons, so threw me off a bit there. I apologize.
So currently, I saw that you're doing a Series A. So are you also launching your token sale as well, so that you have a security token and also utility token?
So we actually already have a token that's on 3 exchanges. We are on MEXC, Probit, and listing on Gate.io next week. That is an ETH-based ERC20 token that serves as a remittance-based token that we actually use as a transactional method to actually move currency throughout exchanges. So we support 70 different fiat currencies. We're working with countries such as Benin, Malawi, Rwanda to actually use our FBX token for remittance-based services. So if I receive a wire on a Friday from work and I want to send that to my family back in Africa, that process could take anywhere from 4 to 6 days, depending on sometimes the wire, as well as a 9.5% to 11.5% fee. So what we've done is peg that token to be a remittance-based product that we can actually use that to convert the currencies in an instantaneous transaction. In terms of KXCO, that's a securitized. We've actually done a voluntary F1 filing in the US, and we're actually going to be launching that security project through an IPO on our actual exchange itself.
So what is the ask? How much are you asking?
Oh, well, that's great, right? So we're asking $6 million at a $100 million valuation. We had 3 valuation services. We have 3 valuation services done, one out of the US, one out of Switzerland, one out of here in Thailand, with differing valuations from 700 million to 2.1 billion. So we actually took the median average of that. We actually put 30 million of our own in an initial raise. So this is our Series A. We're looking to raise an additional 6 million, most of which will go you're having major problems with your clicker, most of which are actually going into the ecosystem and chain development itself, as well as our actual exchange product. So that's that securitized IPO exchange. We're looking to expand that as we now are growing into more countries in the Middle East as well as Northern Africa.
I also would like to comment on your presentation. I found it very, very interesting, actually. The previous presentation, for instance, I found it confusing. This one, clearly you have a lot of data in your mind and a lot to converse. And because we are here to judge, but also potentially to invest, I'd like to have a conversation later for the token part. It's quite interesting what you're doing, and it might be a good fit for our scope of investment.
Absolutely, thank you. I appreciate your time.
You can ask us anything if you want.
Yeah, I mean, if I have another minute, I'd love to maybe cover one more slide if possible.
Yeah, it's moving.
Perfect. So I kind of want to just talk a little bit about this in terms of why we've done an ERC-based product and a securitized ERC 1044 product. So a lot of the way the market's moving, right? We see Paxos, we see a lot of different exchanges kind of coming under fire for what is this utility-based argument. And so what we wanted to do in terms of filing that F1 and having a securitized platform was we feel that ERC 1044 and securitized assets are actually the future of what we're trying to do. And so we feel that there's a lot of countries, mineral companies in Malawi, right? Healthcare and institutional-based pharmaceutical products in Benin, right? And so it's incredibly hard to put liquidity into these markets and trade in these markets as someone who doesn't actually know how to go through these brokerage firms. So what we've wanted to do is simplify this process and allow you to diversify your assets into a number of different markets in a safe and transparent transaction. So a lot of what our chain is focused on is that governmental and financial markets to sort of really hone in on what we believe is a market that's not being covered in the whole DeFi, CeFi market, which is building out for the institutional infrastructure level.